Okay, so this is a video primarily for me, I guess, or future me. This is gonna be like the story and the progression of my life. And I just kind of want to get it out there as the experiences that I've been experiencing lately are so intense that I'm forgetting like moments in my life, you know? So I want to kind of just bleh, and then it could get it could get out of my head, and we'll be all good to go, you know, for the next cycle. And bear with me too, because I feel very like in a meditative state today, just kind of out there, which is fine. I guess we have to start at the beginning. So I'm a Pisces, and I was born February 23rd, 1994 at 5:23 p.m. So 2323 in synchronicity form. I was born in Montclair, California. And me and my mom moved up here to Oregon when I was a year and a half. And I stayed with the early like childhood part is kind of okay, you know, nothing bad happened to me. I was just a dreamy kid. Always had my head in the clouds like I do now. But you know, always outside, like making my own worlds and stuff like that. Wasn't really here. But, my dad was really never around. He was like in California and then Montana, which I was completely fine with. My grandfather was my father figure. And we were like buddies, you know. He's the one who taught me all my like shop work skills and everything like that. Stayed with my grandma and my grandpa for the majority of my like early childhood and even into my teens as my mom was working all the time. So I was just over here. It was a bigger house, a bigger yard, and I could just like do my own thing, you know, even as a kid. And then my grandfather died at 15, which was where I was 14. See? Yeah, I was 14. And he had a massive stroke or something, or a heart attack, I think. So that was pretty hard on me for like a year or so. But here's the craziest part, is that how it all happened too. Like that's where I was like brought aware of my psychic gifts, is because I was in school at the time. And early that morning, I heard ambulance, like the sirens for the ambulance. And I was like, that's my grandfather. So I went to school. Hold on, pause. I'm just gonna take you with me. I wanna go outside real quick. So, shoot. I don't know where I was. So that was pretty hard on me. Oh no, my psychic gifts, yeah. So I went to school, and and during my, I think, third period class, I got pulled into the office, and my grandma was there, and she was all like, hey, we're gonna take you out of school for the day. I'm like, oh, okay, why? And then she didn't want to tell me until we got out into the car. And then my mom was there, my uncle was there. Yeah, this is the craziest part, man. And I get in, and then my grandma was all like, your grandpa died. And I was like, yeah, I know. I saw it early this morning. Dude, everybody was in shock. That was crazy. That was a crazy moment for me. It was a crazy moment for them too, because they're like, this guy's out there, you know. But I just want to walk and talk, okay? I'm gonna kind of go out here in the grass. So that was my first experience with my abilities, I guess. And the night before, I kind of forced him to say he loved me. And he would always like do this whole grunt thing, like whenever I would say like, I love you, he would be like, like he, I don't know, it was just him. It was just how he said it. Didn't bother me whatsoever. Let's go back inside. Yeah, you could just stand there or sit there while I lean back and tell the story. Looking back at my childhood when I get older, as I've grown older, man, I'm 29 this year. As I look back, I think my mom had a big influence on my abilities. Because I found multiple books upon spirituality, psychic abilities, chakras, all that kind of stuff, man, in my baby books. She's a Scorpio, so she's like, that makes sense. But I never really realized. But what is interesting is after I knew about my abilities and kind of shunned them off from the world, so to speak, my life started really getting weird, man. Like from 15 on. So I got expelled from school. I got back into school, studied martial arts. Dude, I remember back in high school, I was even practicing Tai Chi, like energy work. That's crazy. I've forgotten all this. That's why I'm making this little documentary, I guess. But like I started smoking weed when I was like 14, 13, 14. Kind of opened my eyes a little bit. But when I got back to school, I got a job at Walmart. So I was 17. So I was never really in school for those times. Like I was completely okay with it. Like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I already knew like everything that the teachers were trying to tell me. I actually like hacked the school network and changed my grades because I was never there. So I'd never do the work. But when I was 18, that's when shit got crazy. I went to go, I was hopping around, you know, like I was like at friends' houses. I stayed with this chick for a little bit. That was a weird thing that happened to me. Got kicked out from my mom's, went down the street, went to Facebook, had a friend request from somebody. I said, hey, I'm kicked out. And she's like, yeah, come over, you can stay here for like 3 months. I was like, what? Okay. So I did. Anyway, and then I went to this drug house, I guess. We had like 9 roommates, if I remember. It was completely packed all the time. Testing different chemical drugs from the dark web. A whole bunch of shrooms, a whole bunch of acid. You name it, I've done it all, you know. It's very apparent by the way I talk too. But so that was a kind of mind-blowing experience to me. And then I met this chick on Facebook again, and she was in an abusive relationship, if I remember correctly. And she came to live with us. We got into a relationship, moved back to my grandma's house. My mom and I got into a fight. And I'm just gonna kind of, not big details, because like, man, if I give you too big of details, it's just gonna be an hour-long video, man. It's already at, I can't do math right now. Shoot, see? That's what always happens to me. I swear I have like ADHD or something. Or I'm just walking a fine line between worlds, man. Neither here nor there. So we moved back to my grandma's house. I've always had a topsy relationship with my mom. So her and I ended up getting into a fight. Oh yeah, this is like a big thing. We didn't just move back to my mom, or we didn't just move back to my grandma's. We moved back to my grandma's and got married, like court-ordered married. And then we moved back to my grandma's house. Or something. I can't remember the order of all these things, man. But my mom got mad that I didn't tell her, which is understandable. I got mad at her for being mad at me. And she's all like, well, you need to go get a job now. Because I've always been job hopping, man. Like, I can't stay in one place for long. Jobs never really... It was never about the money for me, for jobs. It was about the new experience and the learning aspect. I want to learn everything I possibly can in this life, man. I believe this is my last time here. My Pisces. The end of the zodiac. You know. In the middle between heaven and earth. But so she got mad at me for that and told me to go get a job. And I went to the mailbox the next day and saw a flyer for the Army National Guard. Here's where it gets nuts. So I joined. I went there that day and I joined. Took it to my mom's house and they put it on the table and I was like, look, I got a job now. I'm in the Army. She's like, oh, what have you done? You're gonna regret that. And sure enough, I regretted that. Like, not my current self regrets that. Like, I needed all of what I have gone through in my life. So I shipped off to the Army. Didn't like it, of course, because I'm a Pisces. I want to heal people. I don't want to shoot people in the eyeballs. You know? I knew that I needed the next part of my experience. So something told me to leave. So on Family Day, I had my wife come down to Georgia, and we took off on a bus. Came back to Oregon. I got scared, so I kept on trying to turn myself in. Like, I would go there, and I get scared, come back, go there, go to the base itself, and like physically turn myself in, like, hey, I just committed AWOL. And this went on for like a year. And I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I turned myself in. I was like, here you guys go. I'm AWOL. And they were like, well, your unit wants you back. I'm like, bro, I just took off. I don't want to be there. They're like, well, you're going there. So they put me on a plane. And I had a layover in Texas. And I was like, why would you put me on a plane alone? So I had left again. I just dipped out, got a bus to, I think, Texas. I don't know what's above Texas right now. I don't have a map anymore. 8 minutes. army. Trying to bring myself back. Oh, so I come back to Oregon, and then that was probably the biggest mistake. Well, I mean, all of it was mistakes, but all of it has gotten me to the point where I am right now. But, so I can't be too mad at it, and I don't regret much in my life. I can't look back and be like, I should have done that differently, when I'm right where I'm supposed to be, you know? As long as we learn from the experience and not do it again, you know? Not follow the same path, because you're smarter than that. But, so I came back, got my wife pregnant. She was almost due, and I got pulled over for a California stop, and they checked my license, and I'm like, yo, dude, I have a warrant for my arrest. And they're like, oh shit, let's go look. So they did. They're like, yeah, you're coming with us. So I ship off to jail. Spend, I think, like a month in my county jail waiting for transportation because I was technically never arrested. I was in military holding. And this was the key to everything. And then some MPs came and got me, physically put me in handcuffs, drove me up to Washington, to a base there. Can't remember the base. Or no, to a jail there, right next to the base. So I spent another month in that jail. And then they put me on a plane back to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So the cycle repeated, like back to square one, where I physically took myself before. And they put me into military holding there for about 2 weeks until I talked to the, like it was my first sergeant of that unit, because I was technically back in the Army at this point for holding. Told him what happened. Like, I don't want to kill people, man. He's like, well, why'd you sign up? And I was like, dude, I got into a fight with my mom. And he's like, you might be the dumbest person I've ever met, but you're being honest with me, so I'm gonna put it down as, because I had 2 counts. One count of away without leave, so AWOL, and then 1 count of military desertion because of my second attempt of AWOL. So I was looking at a big charge, but he put it down on my record as other than honorable discharge. And he said that it's not going to go on your record that you were ever arrested. It's just not going to even look like you're in the Army. So that was crazy. It was a crazy experience, and life lesson to me to not choose direction out of emotion and put logic behind it, or go by your gut, because my gut was telling me not to do it the entire time. Or alternatively, it was telling me to do it, and I was following my gut, even though that it was scary and I didn't want to do it. Who knows at this point, man? Came back, had our daughter, spent a year and a half just being the mom and dad to her, working. Then in 2017, she had a mental breakdown, missed her family or something like that, went back to California, then told me that she was never coming back and blocked me for a long time. Took my daughter illegally. So that was a big thing in my life at that time, and I couldn't really do anything about it because I wasn't in the right mindset. I was going through my own, shadow work at that time, unknowing shadow work. But again, all of this needs to happen to get to where I am right now. And I saw it back then too. But it was a big key turning point into my life because I turned to paganism, Wicca and paganism. First, it was like ancient Nordic paganism, and then it was Wicca. So practicing, getting back to my roots and practicing what I thought was magic at the time. Now I just know is vibration, manifestation, all that kind of stuff, intent. And I got into a relationship with my high school best friend's little sister for 4 years. And that was a rough time. Looking back, we had good times, but it was rough because knowing what I know now, that was my karmic. That was my first. That wasn't my first karmic. My first karmic would be my wife. Ex-wife. We're divorced now, but at the time, wife. That was my first karmic partner. Didn't learn my lesson with her. Went on to my next karmic partner. Learned my lesson with her, like what I don't want and how not to approach somebody, and take care of my own emotions and all that. Led me up to my twin flame experience, and we'll get to that like in a separate video. I want to do a full video on that because I want to get into detail with this because that's trippy. But back in 2000, let's see, that was 2017, 2019, was my first true spiritual awakening. The one that was like the biggest aha moment. The one where I was like, this is why everything has happened the way it has happened. To lead up to this point right now of awareness within self, awareness that I am everything, awareness that I am all of you who are watching, awareness that I could be anywhere that I want to be, true divine consciousness entered me at that point. And I saw that, paganism was right. All the religions were right. They were just a little off. They weren't focused on the big picture. They were focused on, something outside of them, which if you feed your power into that, you never gain your true power, which is Christ consciousness, But, and we're getting deep, but this next video is going to be deep because it's my twin flame experience. So that was back in 2019. So, and all my past memories before I entered the veil of forgetting when I incarnated here came back, and I was aware of my true mission, which is to heal the planet, to spread love, to, show people how to work on their shadow work, wake them up to their own power, not heal them, but allow them to heal them. You know what I'm saying? Like, indirectly heal the planet with my own vibration. So I was on a mission at that point. I started, excuse me. When I was in Wicca, that's when I first started learning tarot. And then once I broke free of the structure behind Wicca and had that awakening experience, my first Kundalini experience, because I felt that energy go straight to my head, and I like broke down. I was like, it was an experience. But that's when I first started practicing tarot. But then after my awakening is when I stopped tarot to pursue more energy work, which was like meditation. I was doing that in Wicca too, but like deeper meditation, conscious meditation, and Reiki work, studying Reiki, studying the chakra points, studying everything that I possibly can. And then I went back into the 3D world for a little bit by joining by getting a job in security. And I was doing that for about a year and a half. But I was still practicing raising my vibration, all this kind of stuff. I was still on that journey through there, but it was more, I was slightly awake. My eyes were slightly open in the 3D realm. So I was kind of in 4D. I was still healing through parts of myself that I wasn't seeing. I was still learning, you know, how they go about doing my mission. I think that's a good stopping point for right now, because this is tying right into my twin flame experience, which will be next video. This was just like a basic overview of my life, man. I've seen a lot of places, got a lot of places. That's what happens when you try to turn yourself in multiple times, is you just go and then not go, and then go, and then not go. There, now I can let that story go in my head. And that's what I truly want, because my life is about to change drastically. And that's why I'm trying to kind of make these videos, is to document everything up until this point. Because I have it in journal form, but having a video log of it, I could just go back and watch it and be like, whoa, wow, these are key points in my life. Like, for the next time I start healing something, like, I could go back and pinpoint it. And that's probably a good practice to do a lot, you know? Just find your key trigger points, and then release, and then go back into meditation, and go back into the 5D realm for a little bit, for rest time, rejuvenation, manifestation, and then go back into healing mode. Not a bad thing, as long as we don't stay in that 3D realm, which is impossible at this point. Anyway, so that's my story. If anybody watches this, like I said, it's primarily for me. But I love you. I see you. Bye.